Imagine it's the 1600s. The world feels vast, mysterious, and largely unconnected. For most people, the village they were born in is the only world they'll ever know. But in Japan, a samurai named Hasekura Tsunenaga was about to embark on a journey so audacious, so far ahead of its time, that it sounds like something from a fantasy novel. This is the story of one of history's first true global travelers, a man who sailed halfway around the world to build a bridge between East and West, only to find himself forgotten by the very home he fought so hard to represent. So, who was Hasekura Tsunenaga? He wasn't a king or a shogun. He was a mid-ranking samurai retainer in the service of Date Masamune, one of the most powerful feudal lords, or daimyo, in northern Japan. Masamune was known for his ambition, his distinctive crescent moon helmet, and his openness to new ideas including foreign technology and trade. While Japan was growing more suspicious of outsiders, Masamune saw an opportunity. He dreamed of opening a direct trade route with New Spain, which we know today as Mexico, bypassing the Portuguese and Dutch traders who controlled the sea lanes. To make this happen, he needed a diplomat, someone loyal, intelligent, and brave enough to face the unknown. He chose Hasekura Tsunenaga. This wasn't just a simple voyage. It was a full-blown diplomatic embassy known as the Kaiko Embassy. Its mission was twofold: secure a trade agreement with the Spanish Empire and request more Christian missionaries be sent to Japan. Masamune believed that showing goodwill toward Christianity would earn him favor with the Spanish king. The preparations were immense. A brand new ship had to be built. With the help of Spanish navigators, Japanese shipwrights constructed a 500-ton galleon named the San Juan Bautista, or St. John the Baptist. It was a marvel of engineering, combining Japanese and European shipbuilding techniques. In October of 1613, Hasekura, along with a delegation of over 100 people including samurai, merchants, sailors, and a Spanish Franciscan friar named Luis Sotelo, who served as an interpreter and guide, set sail from the coast of Japan. Think about that for a moment. They were casting off into the Pacific Ocean, an endless expanse of blue, with no guarantee of what lay ahead. They faced storms, sickness, and the constant threat of the unknown. Their journey across the Pacific alone took 3 months. Finally, in January 1614, they landed in Acapulco, on the coast of what is now Mexico. Their arrival must have been an incredible sight. A group of Japanese samurai, dressed in traditional armor and robes, stepping onto the shores of New Spain. The local population was stunned. For Hasekura and his men, it was a whole new world. The architecture, the food, the people, everything was different. They became local celebrities, and their journey across Mexico was a grand procession. They traveled overland from Acapulco to Mexico City, and then onto the port of Veracruz on the Atlantic coast. But Mexico was just a stepping stone. The real goal was Europe. From Veracruz, Hasekura and a smaller delegation boarded a Spanish fleet and began the perilous journey across the Atlantic Ocean. After months at sea, they finally arrived in Spain in late 1614. Here, Hasekura was presented at the royal court. He met with King Philip III and formally delivered his message from Date Masamune, a request for a treaty of friendship and trade. The Spanish court was impressed by the dignity and composure of the Japanese ambassador. To further solidify the alliance and show his commitment, Hasekura made a monumental decision. In Madrid, he was baptized into the Christian faith, taking the name Francisco Felipe Faxicura. This was a huge step, both personally and politically. He was signaling to the Spanish crown that Japan was open to their religion and their culture. But the embassy's journey wasn't over. From Spain, Hasekura traveled to the heart of the Catholic world, Rome. In 1615, he was granted an audience with Pope Paul V at the Vatican. Can you picture it? A Japanese samurai, born in a land on the other side of the planet, standing before the leader of the Catholic Church. He was celebrated in Rome, made an honorary Roman citizen, and his portrait was painted by court artists. He presented the Pope with a letter from Date Masamune, beautifully written in Japanese and Latin, reiterating the request for missionaries and a trade alliance. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed like his mission was a resounding success. Hasekura Tsunenaga had done the impossible. He had connected Japan to the heart of Europe. But history has a cruel sense of timing. While Hasekura was winning hearts and minds in Europe, the political climate back in Japan was changing, and changing fast. The Tokugawa shogunate, the military government that ruled Japan, had grown deeply suspicious of foreign influence, especially Christianity. They saw it as a threat to their power and a tool for colonial invasion. By the time Hasekura was preparing to return home, Japan was already on the path to Sakoku, its famous policy of national isolation. Hasekura began his long journey back in 1618. He sailed back across the Atlantic, trekked across Mexico again, and then crossed the vast Pacific one more time. When he finally set foot on Japanese soil in 1620, he had been away for 7 years. But the Japan he returned to was not the one he had left. Christianity was now outlawed. Foreigners were being expelled. The borders were closing. Masamune's ambitious plan for international trade was dead in the water. The return of a Christian samurai who had just spent years negotiating with European powers was not welcomed. It was seen as an embarrassment, even a danger. Hasekura's records were confiscated, and he was ordered to renounce his new faith. While some accounts say he did, others suggest he remained a secret Christian until his death just a year or two later. And so, one of the most incredible journeys in history ended in tragedy and obscurity. Hasekura Tsunenaga, the man who had been celebrated by kings and the Pope, was effectively erased from his own country's history. His mission was deemed a failure, his story buried for centuries under Japan's isolationist policy. But the story doesn't end there. While he was forgotten in Japan, his legacy survived in the West. The letters, the portraits, and the records of his visit were preserved in the archives of Spain and the Vatican. And in a small town near Seville, Spain, called Correa del Rio, something amazing happened. Many of the Japanese delegates who traveled with Hasekura chose to stay there instead of returning to a hostile Japan. They settled down, married local women, and raised families. To this day, hundreds of residents in that town bear the surname Japan, a living, breathing reminder of the samurai who came from the East. Today, Hasekura Tsunenaga is being rediscovered. He's no longer seen as a failure, but as a visionary, a man who dared to cross cultural and geographical boundaries in an age when doing so was almost unthinkable. He was a symbol of courage, curiosity, and the timeless human desire to connect. His journey reminds us that history is filled with these incredible, forgotten stories of individuals who were centuries ahead of their time. The samurai who sailed to Mexico wasn't just on a diplomatic mission. He was on a quest to prove that even in a disconnected world, peace between worlds was possible. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into forgotten history.